Z-Dubs? Okay. I tried to restart it, so we'll see what happens. I'll just come to Twitch. Well, I appreciate you checking it out on YouTube. Hope you gave a subscribe while you're over there, Z-Dubs.
Give us a subscribe, like the video.
Yeah, do all the things.
Give us the big thumbs up.
All the things. Easier that way. Of course you did. Well, I appreciate that.
We always appreciate you, Z-Dubs. No one is as beautiful as Z-Dubs.
Oh, dang. So I'm gonna do some really quick math here, chat, because we've talked about my baseball team on Out of the Park. So pre-All-Star game, my team won 21 games out of 95. 21 out of 95 games they won. Since the All-Star game, they have played 26 games and they've won 19 of them. Like, what the fuck is going on? Although I think I figured it out. I'm gonna turn the music down. So here's the thing, and I know that nobody cares about this, and probably Z-Dub's the only one that's gonna understand. So I was messing around with my team, right? And I was putting people in positions they didn't normally play, so I could build up their ability in that position so that they're more multifaceted. The Brewers are learning from me. That's all I'm saying. So it kept screwing up. I wanted Robin Yount in left field, and they kept putting him at shortstop and putting my second baseman in left field. It's stupid. So I did this thing called 7-day lineup. So when you do the 7-day lineup, whatever you put in there, that's what your lineup is, period. And it worked great because it made sure Robin Yount was in left field. Here's the problem, is I never accounted for resting people. So the reason my team has sucked so bad is because everyone was playing every single game and everyone was exhausted. My catcher has been on the bench, which is a pun because it's Johnny Bench. He's been on the bench for 3 or 4 games in a row now. He is still at 0% stamina. So basically I destroyed my team by playing them all too much. So now we know how it's possible to lose 41 games in a row because I'm an idiot. All right, we're going to shut that down because that's not what we're here to talk about, chat. We're here to do the podcast, and I got to get out of here on time as much as possible because we got D&D tonight. Trying to rearrange my mic, which is being weird. There we go. All right, so why don't we switch over to the podcast view here, eh? There it is. Thank you for the links there. I'm guessing that's Wiggum, yeah. Every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central Time we record, and then we push these out on YouTube and in your favorite podcast apps every Sunday afternoon-ish. So, yeah, so if you don't catch us live, you can catch us on YouTube or whatever podcast app you use. Me and my buddy Brian, we both hang out, we both do this, we have a good time. We like to yell and scream, and then the really cool part is that every week we have the Wee Random Dick of the Week. Yeah, Dick of the Week. It still says TNT on YouTube. Yeah, YouTube's weird. I don't get it, man. I probably have to figure out what the issue is. Maybe I can go to YouTube directly and change it. Let's try that. Well, see, on mine it says We Random Podcast. See, it was scared of me. It's like, we better change. The old man's coming. All right. Yeah, so why don't we get into this? B, you ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right. Let me start the recorder on the old Zenny here.
Zenny.
Record. 3.
You got
2.
a nice dad joke for us today?
You know what? Maybe it's not going to be a dad joke today. Did you ever think of that? Actually, I need to do a quick audio check. So I am running about -30. B, you want to go ahead and say something?
Hello, everyone. How are you today? We are doing this Wee Random podcast for all of your viewing and listening pleasures.
All right, try again.
Hello, everyone. This is
Landmark
Landmark MKE on Twitter.
On Twitter. I love it. All right, good. I think we should be pretty good. I'm a touch higher than you, I think, which is probably good because I'm always quieter than you on the recording.
Oh, Emily has a dad joke for us.
Emily has a dad joke. All right, hit us with it. I'm going to start recording over here while Emily gives us a dad joke. We're all waiting in silence for Emily.
Build that anticipation.
Did you hear about the cheese factory explosion? All that is left is debris. Where's my? Do I have a laughing? I need a laugh track. I mean, I got that. I totally need a laugh track though. That was good. There you go. That's a good one. All right, B, are you ready to start this thing or what?
Let's do it.
All right, let me start there, and we're gonna do that. Okay. This is 29, March 5th. All right. Here we go, chat. Hello and welcome to We Random, episode 29 for March 5th, 2021. Hey, B, I've got just 3 words for you. Spring fucking training. Let's hit it.
Almost Qualified Productions. Your dose of semi-coherent babbling.
Welcome to We Random, episode 29. I'm Brian. That's Christopher. Say hello to those wonderful people, Christopher.
Hello, wonderful people.
Welcome into another episode of We Random, where I have 3 words for you all. 87 outfielders. But we won't get into that, or maybe we will. You never know, because this is a random podcast, and we have our Wheel of Doom that has a lot of loaded topics. Are we going to find our We Random Dick of the Week? Are we going to have a topic on here that makes us feel, empowered and makes us feel positive? Or are we just going to yell a whole bunch? As you look at this wheel, Christopher, what does your heart tell you?
I think we're gonna yell a whole bunch, but maybe we can maybe we can find some diamonds in the rough.
Maybe we can. Do you have any thoughts or words or opinions for the people before we get ourselves going?
No, I'm just gonna spin this wheel, B.
All right, well, let's spin the wheel and see what comes up.
Alrighty. Oh God, really? We gotta start with this fucking guy?
Wrong.
Well, unfortunately, this probably will not be the positive topic that we're looking for, but we are going to talk about the former President Donald Trump. In a speech to close the Conservative Political Action Conference, former President Donald Trump teased his political future and repeated the lie that he won the 2020 election. Trump said, "I stand before you today to declare the incredible journey we began together 4 years ago is far from over. We are gathered this afternoon to talk about the future of our movement, the future of our party, and the future of our country." Trump later launched into multiple tirades about mail in voting, voter ID laws, and the Supreme Court ruling rejecting his election challenges. Trump said that he is not starting a new party, but put fellow Republicans who have crossed him on notice, name dropping each of the 17 Republicans who voted to impeach or convict him for his role in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. When it comes to Trump's future aspirations, while he stopped short of declaring his 2024 plan, he did say, "Who knows? I may even decide to beat them, the Democrats, for a 3rd time." Prior to Trump's address, he did win CPAC's presidential straw poll with the support of 55% of more than 1,000 conference attendees who were asked who they would support for the GOP's 2024 bid. So I thought that this was fitting to bring up because back when everything was going on with the insurrection and Trump leaving office, we had talked about, well, what's next for him? And it seems like he's still plans to be a little bit involved, and it seems like people are still supporting him in a fairly overwhelming capacity. So, what are your thoughts on this, Christopher?
I'm trying to pull up this image quick. The whole thing is, first of all, you can't trust a thing this guy says, right? I mean, they had, and I was trying to pull up a picture of the statue. They had a fucking gold statue of Donald Trump wearing American flag boxer briefs or shorts or something that people are taking pictures next to. People are bowing to this thing. I mean, it's ridiculous, the fanfare that this guy gets. But that said, there was only like 55% of people that said they would want him to be their next Republican candidate for president. So I think that already in just a couple months, you're starting to see some of that, I guess, fanfare and some of that put him up on a pedestal, gold statue notwithstanding, starting to die down a little bit. It'll be interesting to see what he does moving forward, right? Because I think the guy is completely a narcissist, and I think that he would love to, do all this crazy stuff that so many people that follow him want him to do. But I think in the grand scheme of things, he doesn't know how to do it. I don't think he's that ambitious, really. I think he's had things handed to him so much in his life that he just I'll just kind of take what comes. But I think the other thing is, I really think that he got into office because he just wanted to make money. I think that's what a lot of it was. I mean, you look at the way that he bilked people for money by having all these different conferences and having dignitaries and foreign leaders and all these people come to his resorts. The Secret Service has to rent out an entire building where they charge him through the nose. There's just all these different. I just think that a big part of what he was into it for was to make money. I don't know. Like, there's still a small part of me that worries that if he wanted to, he could ratchet this up to 1,000, and these idiots that follow him blindly will just like storm the Capitol again. But I just don't know if he's in for it. I know they are, but I don't know if he is.
Well, and I think what concerned me more is that if we look at this poll, now one of the articles that I read said that generally these polls aren't necessarily indicative of who gets the nomination or what happens, but the only other person to draw even double digits in votes was the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Like, everybody else was in the single digits for vote. So it seemed like people are still pretty like onto Trump, or they're all like splitting themselves 16 ways to Sunday,
Right.
where they're like picking just random people out of thin air. So I think that is more interesting, because if there's still a majority of people who are like, yeah, we would prefer kind of like Trump's politics and his way of doing things versus a more kind of pragmatic approach, like I feel like that's a little bit concerning, especially given how people are reacting to Joe Biden and some of these things that are happening with the COVID bill. Because, and this is going to be a side tangent, but hey, we random, it's what we do. I'm starting to be concerned that what's going to happen is the left is actually going to be the one that eats their own tail, because a lot of these people who are pushing for like everything right now, they're like, we want the Green New Deal and we want $15 an hour and we want this and this and this and this and this. And like, Biden's not going to give that to them. And then they're going to turn on Biden. And then basically the Republicans, we've already seen, they don't generally turn on each other. So if the D's just continue to turn on themselves, it's just going to be bad news in 2022 and 2024.
Yeah. So just to address a couple comments in the chat, 55% of the 1,000 people that wanted Trump as the next nominee. Yes, that is correct. And you're right that the fact that people were probably here for the most part to see him in a lot of ways, that doesn't bode very well. And Mike asked, are they boxers, briefs, or Cheeto sling? Well, they look like boxers to me, but I don't know. Maybe there's a Cheeto sling underneath. I don't want to find out. So I think to your point, B, there are two things. So number one, I don't like Republicans very much. Like, I don't like a lot of what they stand for. But if there's one thing that you have to respect, is that they win. Like, they just win. It's like fucking Bill Belichick. You can hate the guy, but he's gonna fucking win. When he had Tom Brady, at least. And that's the thing, right? Like they nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, as Chris Berman used to say. Well, no one circles the wagons like the Republican Party. When it comes time to get down to brass tacks, they're going to circle the wagons and they're going to make sure that they're getting votes to their people. Now, a lot of the ways that they do that are, if not illegal, they're fucking borderline illegal. You know, when we're talking gerrymandering and cutting people's access to voting and all of that type of thing. But again, they just push everything towards the fact that we want to win. And that's not what you see from the left. So I think that's a big part of the reason why the left struggles so much against the right. And to your point about Biden and what this is going to mean going forward, I don't know that there's more than like 7 people in this country that were excited about Joe Biden being president. I mean, honestly, I think there's millions and millions of people that were excited about Donald Trump not being president, but I don't think there's a lot of people excited about Joe Biden, right? He's milk toast as much as you could ever be milk toast. Plus, he's kind of feely, and that's kind of weird too. Like the guy, there's some positive things about him, sure. The biggest positive about him is that he's not fucking Donald Trump. So I think just the fact that he's the one who won this vote automatically means things aren't great for the Democratic Party going into the next couple elections, right? And he's incredibly moderate in my mind, at least from where a lot of other people want to be. And you can see that because a lot of these, you know, I was just reading about the stimulus plan and how he has to change things to appease some of the more progressive Democrats. So it's like he's kind of standing in the middle a little bit. I mean, a little bit more to the left, but kind of in the middle between these two groups. And I think just that fact alone is going to bode poorly for him going forward. And then again, to your point, you know, we're in a position as a country where the people on the left could really start to push some of that agenda, but he's kind of pulling back on some of that. And so he's just pissing off both sides, which isn't a very good look.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to get too deep into this topic because it's not something that we can do anything about. But I think this is the whole thing with unity. Like, there are people on the Republican side who are like, we want unity and we want you to work with us. And like, they'll get what they want in this bill. But at the end of the day, you know, those legislators and their voters aren't going to be voting for Democratic candidates in 2022 or 2024. And then the folks that are out like on the way left, like they're going to be all like butthurt and like frustrated about the things that Biden is doing to like work towards the middle. And I just feel like we're going in a worst case scenario direction because people just want what they want. But I guess that's a bigger societal issue that we can't address.
Yeah, and you know what? This is going to piss off Wiggum because we had this conversation a little bit last night about how you have to kind of see things positively on both sides. But let me tell you about these unity people. They can go fuck themselves because here's what I see. You remember the cartoon with the little ass yappy dog or whatever, right? And he's yapping at someone and yapping and fighting and scrapping and doing all the things and just being a fucking total asshole. And then the much bigger dog shows up and the dog's like, oh, wait, no, let's be friends. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. That's what this shit is. Like, we were loud and proud and we were supporting that fucking bald headed son of a bitch with that stupid ass rag on his head wearing the Cheeto sling or whatever the fuck it is. We're all behind him. But now that he's out, oh, well, let's just be friends. Let's be friends. We need to work together. Go fuck yourself. A year ago, you weren't working with nobody. You know, yes. Do we need to come together as a people? 100%, absolutely yes. But the people who are crying for unity more than anything are the people that were stabbing people in the backs for the last 4 years. And I got no time for those fuckers.
Well, now that I'm feeling discouraged after, 10 minutes of this podcast, let's move to a different topic and see if we can find something.
We're going to find something positive. Yeah.
Redeeming quality.
I hope it's not the Brewers, though.
I mean, I would feel something about the Brewers topic.
That's true. But instead, we're going to talk about Albert Pujols, who apparently is old as fuck.
I guess we're moving from one liar to another. So, Albert Pujols is not the age he says he is, according to David Samson, who served as the Miami Marlins president from 2002 to 2017. Samson said no one in baseball believed Pujols was telling the truth about his age when he signed a 10-year, $240 million contract in 2011. There is not one person, one executive who believes he's the age he says he is, Samson repeated. The amount of fraud was going on in the Dominican back in the day, the changing of names, the changing of birthdays, it would blow your mind. Samson said he knew Pujols was not the age he said he was when the Marlins tried to court him in free agency. Pujols, who's from the Dominican Republic, he is listed as having a birth date of January 16th, 1980, which would put him at 41 years old. there are concerns about his age because if he were lying about this, it wouldn't be the first time. For example, Wandy Rodriguez, who is a Dominican player in the 2000s, was 19 at the time of his signing and threw in the mid 80s, but he ended up borrowing the identity of his friend Andy Cabrera so that he could tell scouts that he was a 17-year-old with a mid 80s fastball. Another example of this was former shortstop Miguel Tejada, who also lied about being 17 when he was actually 19 to land his first contract with the Oakland Athletics. So, Christopher, thoughts, opinions, concerns? What do you got?
I guess I just don't see this being a big deal. Like everybody knows that a big number of these Latin American players, they lie about their age or their age is wrong, or like there's all kinds of stuff going on, and it's not on the up and up, right? Like there's a reason why you do that, because someone would be much more interested in a 17-year-old player than they would be a 20-year-old player, right? Because you're looking at this player and saying, oh, well, you know what, as a 17-year-old player, he's got plenty of years to grow into the player that we want him to be. And so the fact that his production is at X number, we're okay with that because we've got those 3 years. But if you're a 21-year-old and you're hitting 230, then we're going to say, hey, you know what, he's already at the point where he should have matured past that. I don't think that maybe this isn't a person we want to take a chance on. So I mean, here's the thing. We know that it's happening. I mean, you could argue that this is fraud, right? Like, I mean, it fits the definition of fraud. But nothing's ever going to happen. Nothing's ever going to change. I'm like, maybe teams are going to do a little bit more research and try to get better documentation. But let's be honest, the documentation a lot of times isn't up to par. It isn't what it needs to be. Now, I'm sure things have gotten better over the years. But I don't know. I guess I'm not shocked by this. Everyone knew it was happening. It kind of is what it is, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think about Julio Franco, right? Like Julio Franco played until he was quote unquote 48 years old. That man was like 55 when he retired
Yeah.
and he still raked, right? Like the thing about it is, yes, as you said, a lot of this documentation and things like that, it's not where it needs to be able to specifically prove, like, yep, you were born on this date in this year and things like that. And basically, this is these folks working the system. It's kind of the same way that in America, people are like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get a fake ID so I can go into the club. Because if I try to go to the club at 19, they're not gonna let me in. But if I got this fake ID and says I'm 21, I can get into the club. In baseball, if I got this ID that says I'm 17 and I throw 85, they're gonna be more interested in me than if I'm
Right.
19 and I throw 85. Not to say that it makes it right or that people should be doing this, but as you've said and as Wiggum said, no one is surprised that this is happening. And it really kind of sounds like sour grapes because they're like, oh, well, we didn't get him and we just knew
Yeah.
that he was old.
Yep. Exactly. And can you blame these players though? I mean, if you look at, and I'm speaking from a completely uneducated position, but they're coming most likely from places that aren't very wealthy, right? They don't have exemplary living conditions. Like this is a lottery ticket, let's be honest. And so like if I was in a position as a 20-year-old where I could lie about my age and say I was 18, and all of a sudden that's gonna that lie could be worth millions and millions of dollars. Fuck you, I'm 18 years old, right? Like done. I mean, I you can't blame the players for going through all this. I mean, there are people on both sides who are probably guilty of fudging stuff, fudging numbers and what they shouldn't be doing. And they're probably getting money out of this whole thing too, because let's be honest, why else would you be doing it? But in the grand scheme of things, I agree with Wiggum. It's only a story because someone decided to talk about it. Who cares? I mean, Albert Pujols, and I had his numbers up here. Like he put up a shit ton of numbers out of his career, right? Like the guy has been an absolute beast his entire career. And what is his listed age? Like 46 or something right now?
41. Like
41?
So
I
even
mean,
if he's 45, like if he's played until like the legit age 45 and he's hit the way that he's hit, good for him.
well, even if he's 41, I mean, you don't expect players to still be hitting well into their 40s. I mean, yeah, some people do it, but it doesn't happen to everybody. So like the fact that he's tailed off the last few years shouldn't be a surprise. He's fucking old, Like
Yeah,
who
I
cares?
mean, exactly. So Albert Pujols, best to you, sir. Thank you for leaving the NL Central because for the last,
Right.
10 years, we haven't had to be tormented by you.
Amen. I'm spinning the wheel.
Now we just have nightmares about Paul Goldschmidt.
Ah. All right. Dr. Seuss, parentheses, sucks? Question mark?
No, I don't know. I don't know about sucks, but there is some Dr. Seuss news. So, this week it was announced that Dr. Seuss Enterprises discontinued 6 books due to racist and insensitive imagery. The books include And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street, If I Ran the Zoo, and The Cat's Quizzer. The estate said these books portray people in ways that are hurtful and wrong. And this whole kind of event coincided with the late author's birthday, and there's also kind of a day of reading that tends to go on. So this is something that's been bubbling up, it seems like, over the course of a few years. And then this year is finally the year that the enterprises decided to do something about it. Now, Dr. Seuss's stepdaughter has said that there wasn't a racist bone in that man's body, but she acknowledged that she thought it was a wise choice in this day and age. She says, he was so acutely aware of the world around him and cared so much. I think this is a world right now that is in pain, and we've all got to be very gentle and thoughtful and kind with each other. The news has launched people to have lots of opinions, and it's also launched Dr. Seuss's books back into the cultural conversation where people are buying the books in droves, having a lot of his books that haven't been discontinued to be top sellers on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Now, to give you some context about what the critiques include, some critiques included imagery of Black individuals who resembled monkeys and Asian individuals who were wearing stereotypical Asian attire, holding bowls of rice and chopsticks. So these are some of the instances that people found to be racist or offensive. And there are other people who have pushed back on this, but basically the estate has said, nope, the books that are having drawings like this will no longer be in print. So what are your thoughts on this, Christopher?
I tried to look around to see if I could see these images because I haven't really seen them. But just
there
by your
was a link
description,
that I put. There was a link that I put in the chat from the Nashville Library. They did a good job of
got it.
kind of putting some of that out.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that. But I think just from your description, it's yeah, so like a very stereotypical Asian-looking individual. Yeah, it's just so here's the thing. Was he racist? Was he not racist? I don't know. And I don't think that's what this conversation is about. I think it's about the images in these books and the fact that these books were pulled back. I could see some people might look at this as censorship. I don't think it is. I think that's a horrible argument. I think it's a situation where we are much more sensitive to these types of things now than we were 100 years ago or whenever it was that these were written. Yeah, exactly what Wiggum's saying here, right? It's not okay, but it was acceptable back then. It doesn't mean that it's okay. It's never been okay. It never will be okay. But it was something that was part of the human experience back then. So it's not a huge surprise that it might show up this way, right? I think that we probably look at bigotry and racism a lot differently now, and definitely a lot more nuanced now than we ever did back then. That's not to say that somebody who back then wouldn't be considered a racist is okay, and in today's society we wouldn't look at them and say, holy shit, you were fucking racist, right? Because we very well may. But I think it's something worth I hesitate on judging the individual based on this, because I don't know that we know enough about that to judge the individual, and I don't know that that's the way that anybody's going on this anyway. But these images absolutely should not be available, right? Like I have a great niece who is, I don't know, I should know how old she is, 3 years old or something. Like she's getting to the age where she might have books like this and be looking at these kind of books. Do I want her to see a Black person as a monkey? Do I want her to see an Asian person as, Oriental with the slanty eyes and eating rice and whatever the images are here? Of course not. Those are offensive images. They're offensive stereotypes. That's not how children should be viewing and being introduced sometimes to to these types of people. So I 100% agree that these should not be out there. I don't think there's any reason why they should be out there.
Yeah, I think your perspective on it is a very rational perspective. Obviously, there's a lot of people who have been like calling this oppressive and cancel culture and things like that. And one of the things that is a challenge to me, and I saw a quote that was not necessarily talking about this, but it was just generally talking about people's thoughts in general, saying that there are so many people who are tied up in the thought that not being able to be openly racist or discriminatory without consequence is oppression. And that really kind of hit me
Oh
like a
God.
ton of bricks. Because if you look at so many places in our society, when we're trying to say, okay, we understand that whatever it is that you were doing or whatever it is that you were saying was okay at this period of time, but it's not okay right now. Like people are pushing back on that. And we're always supposed to be trying to evolve and to get better and to do better and to teach our loved ones better. But for people to say, yeah, like you should be able to see this, like no, like that's not something that is going to be helpful. Like I thought about your situation. Like I have a godson. Like do I want him as someone who identifies as black? Do I want him to look at this book and see me like a monkey? No, I don't want that, because that's not the imagery that we want to display. And I think it's an important conversation to talk about how do we represent people in books, in literature, and in the media, so that people do get a nuanced sense of, again, because as the human condition goes, people want to put things in boxes. People want to classify things. People want to be able to say, oh, I see that. I know what that is. But how do we do that in a way that is holistic, in a way that there's empathy, in a way that is not judgmental of another group or person?
Yeah, so there's this is a topic I think we could talk about forever, but a couple things that I want to touch in on. First of all, Wiggum called out it's important to remember that the Dr. Seuss Enterprises, those are the ones who actually pulled this back, so that's really good. Um, but here's the thing: you mentioned that quote, which I kind of shake my head at, but about people want to be oppressive out in the open or whatever that quote was. But then you also said that we as a people, we need to grow, we need to do better, we need to get smarter, and we need to make sure that we're becoming better people. But here's the problem: there's a lot of people who think that better is the way things were 100 years ago. There are a lot of people who think better is I can look down on somebody whose skin color looks different than mine. There's a lot of people who think better is that those men who love other men need to be stuck away in a home somewhere because there's something wrong with them up in the head. A lot of people think that that is better. That's the problem, right? That's a huge problem. And then you also touched on representation, which I think is super, super important, right? Like that's what we're seeing with these images. Is this is a representation of what an Asian person looks like? No, that's not. This is a representation of a black person, but that's not what a black person is, right? And I think that goes into, and this is definitely taking us, into left field, but the representation in the media, right? This is going to come up in my extra point later, because I actually have an extra point this week. Is the importance of representation, the importance of children especially being able to see people that look like them, that represent them in all different forms of media and in the news and in sports and all of those things, and the importance of that, and the importance of a little black child not looking at a book like this and saying, wait, am I a monkey? And it sounds stupid to say that, but that's exactly where a kid's mind would go, right? That's 100% where it would go. And it's so important that kids are getting the correct and accurate and appropriate representation, and not stuff like, I'm going to say garbage like this. And no hate on Dr. Seuss, I guess, but this is garbage. This should not be around right now. I feel very vehemently about that.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things where during that time, like Wiggum said, like this is kind of how things were, and like people didn't really bat an eye at it. So I guess it's a good thing that we've at least come this far as a society, that we're willing and able to step back and go, whoa, okay, like this guy's really popular, but we need to do something about this. So I guess that's a
Yeah.
small positive step.
Yep, for sure.
Cool. Well, let's spin the wheel and see what else the wheel has for us today.
Oh, you know what, B? I'm going to preemptively call this The Wee Random
Dick.
of the Week.
Uh-oh, is it your boy?
It's the Stick to Sports guy.
Oh, no, I thought it was going to be your...
He's gonna be a Dick of the Week too, but this guy, this guy, this guy.
This guy.
Tell us about this
Oh.
guy, B.
All right. So, Zoltan Ibrahimovic, I guess? He's
I
a
don't know.
striker for AC Milan, which is a soccer club, has doubled down on his criticism of athletes who mix politics and sports. In the past weeks, he singled out LeBron James for bringing politics into the sporting arena. He says, I like James a lot. He's phenomenal. What he's doing, but I don't like when people with a status speak out about politics. Do what you're good at doing. He says, I play football because I'm the best at playing football. I don't do politics. If I'd been a politician, I would be doing politics. This is the first mistake famous people do when they become famous. For me, it is better to avoid certain topics and do what you're good at doing. Otherwise, you risk doing something wrong. He also says, athletes unite the world and politics divide it. Our role is to unite the world by doing what we do best. Athletes should be athletes and politicians should do politics. Meanwhile, in responding, LeBron said, I will never shut up about things that are wrong. I preach about my people and I preach about equality, social justice, racism, voter suppression, things that go on in our community. I was a part of my community at one point and I saw the things that were going on, and I know what's still going on because I have a group of 300 kids at my school that are going through the same things. They need a voice. I'm their voice, and I use my platform to continue to shed light on everything that might be going on, not only in my community, but in this country and around the world. James also pointed out that this individual once said that he idolized Muhammad Ali because of what he did inside and outside the ring, and that he had also spoken out about politics in the past, talking about how when he played in Sweden, he felt like there was some racism because his last name is not a traditional Swedish name. So James basically came back and told him, hey, you're telling me to stay in my lane, but you're not staying in your lane. And what's the deal? So I feel like in some ways that's a little bit. I have multiple thoughts on this, Christopher, but do you want to go out on thoughts or do you want me to give you a bullet point of a couple of my thoughts first here?
So I'm gonna share Mike's comment and then I'm gonna let you go. So Mike calls out that, and I'm gonna butcher his name. Zlatan is not the best in his sport, and he's a bit of an idiot. Bit of an idiot. So I think we can go from that. B, tell me what you've got, because I certainly have a few thoughts.
So my number one thought about this is it's kind of the whole stick to sports or use sports as your launching pad, right? And I think one of the biggest mistakes here is that this guy is making the assumption that politicians are working in our best interest. At least in America, I can't speak to any other country in the world, but in America, I can say with extreme certainty our politicians are not working in the favor of the common man and woman, child, transgender, any individual. They are not. So that's why it's important for all of us to advocate for ourselves, because the politicians who we, you know, elect to speak for us often speak for their own personal or corporate interest. So I think that's where for LeBron, he is in the right to be speaking up because he's doing it in a manner that is intelligent. He's speaking to what he knows and he's speaking to his community. If he were out here speaking about some other community or trying to say something that's not close to him, like that's a different story. But I think if you're using your platform in a way that is advancing a conversation, that is a positive. So I don't think that the whole sticking to sports thing is really something that we should be going all yeah about.
Yeah, I think it's really stupid. And I'm going to call out what Mike said. He mentions another name I'm going to butcher, Hector Bellerin, a footballer who's a vegan, a fashion designer, plants trees when his team wins, talks about mental health. He's an example of how athletes are humans too, and he actively campaigns against media narratives that put an athlete in a limiting, discriminatory box. I mean, that's a perfect example, right? Like, so here's the thing. different people have differing platforms, right? You and I have this podcast that has like a total of 8 people watching it right now or something. Maybe we'll have another 10 people that listen to it. This is our platform, and we have a right to say and share our views and our opinions on things. Just so happens that LeBron James has a slightly bigger platform than we have, right? But for Christ's sake, we give a platform to TikTokers who are, 17-year-olds who don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, but they're out there speaking about shit and they're influencing people. That's just the world that we live in. Right or wrong, that's the world that we live in, right? And so the fact that LeBron is out here and he is, I'm not even a LeBron James fan. There's a lot of things I don't like about LeBron, but the guy does a shit ton of good things. And he's speaking for things that he's very passionate about, speaking about things that admittedly I agree with that need change. I was always, one of the things that really kind of soured me about on LeBron James was back when we had the Olympics in China, and there was this big to do about, Chinese labor laws and the fact that he didn't say a damn thing. Nobody did, right? Everyone kept their damn mouth shut. And it always kind of soured me a bit. But he's totally taken a 180 and he's speaking his mind and he's trying to make change. And I love the fact that he didn't take this lying down and he just came back and said, look, I'm speaking about shit that matters. And that's just the way it's going to be. And I think that's the way it should be. Is LeBron James the most intelligent person to speak on this stuff? Probably not. But I guarantee a lot of the politicians that speak on this shit all the time definitely aren't the most intelligent people to speak on it. So, yeah, I think people have to use their platform. They have to use their platform for what they're passionate about. I think that people need to use their platform for good. Now, unfortunately, as we spoke about earlier, some people see good as one thing versus another, and that's a different conversation. But yeah, I think the best thing to come out of all of this is the fact that LeBron keeps speaking up. He did when what was her name, Laura Ingraham, called him out, told him to shut up and dribble, and he came out, he spoke out about that. The fact that he's speaking out about this. There's a lot of, I'm going to say littler people, like people who aren't as big of a star that could get called out for this kind of stuff, and they don't necessarily, they may not have the platform to rise up and to say something about it, but doesn't get a whole lot bigger of a platform than what LeBron has. So I'm glad that he's standing up for himself and for what he believes.
I would agree with that. So, Christopher,
Yeah.
we are at a point here where if you want to throw this challenge flag, you might want to throw the challenge flag. Is there anything on this wheel that you're feeling like you really want to talk about?
Let me see what we've still got on here. We got the Brewers. Internships, don't care about that. Golden Globes, don't care about that. What's that red one say? Can't read it. Move it over here. Starts with an M. Oh, Myanmar, right? And then there's Fortnite guy. There's COVID. Yeah, there's nothing I'm super antsy about. Is there something you want to throw a challenge flag on? We are only 40 minutes in, so we do have a little bit of time.
Yeah, but you gotta be. You said you gotta be done, so I'm trying to keep an eye on the clock.
All right.
So I am thinking that I would like to talk about the Milwaukee Brewers.
Wait. Hold on 1 second. All right, what do you got? Tell me about your Brewers.
Would you rather talk about COVID?
I think both of them are about as dangerous to my health as the other. So,
all right. So, our old friends, the Milwaukee Brewers, have been busy. First, the Brewers have signed outfielder Jackie Bradley Jr. to a contract. The rumored deal is for 2 years and $24 million. Bradley has the opportunity to opt out after the first year. Bradley, currently 30 years old, was the first-round draft pick of the Boston Red Sox in 2011 and had spent his entire career with Boston previously. He is a 239 hitter with a 733 OPS, where actually he was one of the few people who hit well in 2020 with a career best 364 on base percentage as part of an 814 OPS. Reports say that Bradley has a bit of power as he's hit 26 home runs in 2016, and he's stolen 17 bases previously, so he's got a little bit of speed. But he's also a previous Gold Glove winner, as he's ranked tied for 10th among outfielders in defensive runs saved since 2014. So he seems to be an outfield maven. So there is that. We'll also talk a little bit about Bob Euchre. So Bob Euchre has finally actually signed a contract for the first time with the Milwaukee Brewers.
This one when I read it shocked the hell out of me. I love
So
it.
which signing is bigger, Bob Euchre or Jackie Bradley Jr., right?
Do you really have to ask me that question right now?
No, but Euchre has been working on handshake agreements with the club since 1971. Like so many things over the past year, the coronavirus changed everything. Euchre had previously received health benefits through the Screen Actors Guild, but his benefits were discontinued at the end of 2020. To compensate, Euchre signed a contract with the Brewers so he could join their insurance plan.
That is so amazing.
And then
Wait. Perhaps the
yes.
most amazing thing is that he was still part of the Screen Actors Guild up until 2020. That's ridiculous. Okay, go on.
I mean, he's getting that money and he's getting those benefits, right?
He's got that Mr. Belvedere money coming in.
Exactly. I'm sure he's got some of that WWE money coming in
too. Right, yeah.
But also, to celebrate these signings, the Brewers have been approved for 25% capacity to start the season. As part of their plan, no tailgating is allowed, no carry-in food or drink will be allowed, and no bags larger than 9 inches by 5 inches by 2 inches will be allowed. All guests, aged 2 years and older, must wear a face covering over their nose and mouth at all times, except when actively eating or drinking in a ticketed seat. So the Brewers have been up to a lot of things here, Christopher. Do you have thoughts on any of them?
Yes, I do. So I don't know much about Jackie Bradley Jr., but I think $24 million is a lot to give a guy who's going to be our 7th outfielder. That seems a little bit crazy. I've been very outspoken by the fact that I think they're being. I hate what they do with their money. I hate it. Like at one point, I even said I'm just going to stop being a season seat holder because I'm not giving them any more of my money to piss away on shit that makes no sense. It just irritates me. Now I know that they have to be very, very frugal and they have to be very careful with what they spend. But I take it personally as a slap in the face that I'm giving you money every year. Now I'm not buying anybody's salary, and also in a year when you put up this big fancy fucking sign that everybody hates in front of the stadium because of all these millions and millions of dollars that they're paying you to do that, and yet your fucking big surprise spending is Colton Wong and Jackie Bradley Jr. I'm not excited about that. That said, and we kind of had this conversation, is this is more about saving runs than scoring runs. And to be honest, it's a whole hell of a lot cheaper to save runs defensively, not by pitching, but defensively save runs than it is to score runs. It's just cheaper. And when it comes to the Brewers, they have to do everything on the cheap. I get that. I do think it sucks that we're a couple of years away from an NLCS and we seem to be going downward. We seem to be dumping money. Now, obviously, there's a huge paycheck that goes out to Christian Yelich. There's still a huge paycheck that goes to Lorenzo Cain, right? But I guess the way that I'm looking at this is if you cannot afford and you do not anticipate to actually put money towards a team to make them a winner, why the fuck are you giving Christian Yelich $30 million a year or whatever the fuck it is? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So am I excited about it? Not really. But I understand the approach they're taking. I understand why they have to go defense first. So let's start with that one, and then I can touch on the other ones. What are your thoughts there, B?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really interesting, right? Because there are a lot of people who are like, oh my God, what are they doing? Why? But then somebody was like, okay, look, there are 486 starts in a 162 game season in the outfield. Now you have to consider that most of these guys can play all 3 outfield positions. So if you think about Lorenzo Cain, you typically are going to think at his age, maybe he's going to make 120 starts if you're lucky. You're probably penciling in, Yelich for 140 starts. Then, maybe you try to get 110 starts out of Avi, which leaves 116 starts for Jackie Bradley Jr., for example. So, depending on how this shakes out, you have plenty of starts to go around. And I think that's the piece of this that folks are missing because oftentimes what the Brewers used to do is, one day Hernan Perez is starting in left field, and the next day Ben Gamel's starting in center field, and then the day after that, Tyler Saladino is starting in right field, and then the day after that, Chris Magruder is starting, at the hot dog stand. But it's like that is kind of the fundamental change here, is that the Brewers are going, okay, we're going to have four big outfielders, and these are the guys that are going to cover the majority of these innings. And then we'll probably have one guy who's like on the bench, and his job is to run and play defense and be the guy who gets put in the on deck circle in the fourth inning and then gets pulled back when we let the pitcher hit because we want to save a batter for later in the game, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's an interesting approach, especially when it comes to saving runs, because instead of putting an infielder who also plays two of the outfield positions at a, league average rate, you have four outfielders who can play all three positions at an above average rate. So that's hopefully going to help you to save some runs. And I think the other part about it is they're looking at this from the perspective of depth at these different positions. They knew that they needed a third baseman, they knew that they needed a first baseman, but they also knew that the depth at both of those positions was pretty abysmal. So
Yeah.
they looked at their. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. I think the thing, and this is, I don't want anybody to have a heart attack with me saying this out loud. Okay. The thing that the Brewers do that I really, really appreciate, the thing that I really love, and the thing that really sets them apart from probably any other team, I don't follow any other team that closely, but most teams, and then this is the way fans are too, right? This is why you can look at this team and say they're complete shit, right? You look at the Brewers, and just looking offensively, the way that most teams look at this is we've got our 8 starters, and we want the absolute best 8 starters we can get. And then we've also got like 5 guys that are going to get a couple at bats here and there, and they'll fill in if someone gets hurt, right? So we want to focus on our 8 guys, and then we've got those other guys. But what the Brewers do is they look at, we've got 13 players on our offensive team, and we want those 13 players to be as strong as possible. And that's why they're looking for people who they can move up and move down to the minor leagues as much as they can, right? That's why they're looking for guys who can successfully play multiple positions, because that way it's much, much easier to piece a lineup together, right? If you've got, we'll say 13 guys, and all 13 of those guys can play 3 different positions, all of a sudden you've got, like, I don't know the math on that, but like hundreds of different lineups and fielding positions that you can put people in, right? Probably more than hundreds. Like, there are so many opportunities that you have to put people out there and to shake stuff around, to give people a rest, so they're not, sitting at 0%, health forever, like Johnny Bench. It just gives you so many more options. And that's the great thing that they're doing. Now, sure, I wish they had that really big guy outside of Yelich. But in the end, that's the guy. That's what they're building around. And outside of him, they're going to piece together as many guys as they can. But what they do is they look 1 through 13 or whatever number of fielders and batters they're going to have, and they want that to be as strong as possible versus looking at that top 8 only and then just using scraps for the rest. I think it's a brilliant idea, honestly. And I think it's something that they need to do because of the financial strains they're working with.
Yeah, I mean it is. And if you think about kind of the way that they played it, like I was saying with first base and third base, they knew that the depth out there was pretty slim. So they poked around, they talked to Justin Turner, they talked to these other people, but then they said, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to upgrade at second base. So instead of having a second baseman that's kind of like, like he's okay, we're actually going to get a really good second baseman. And then we're going to take that guy who's just kind of like, he's okay at second base, and we're going to put him at first base, because you know what happens at first base? Every single team puts their guy who's he's okay at first base. So instead of going and signing Mark Reynolds or Chris Carter or whatever, Travis Ishikawa, the 17 guys that we've signed to play first base since Prince Fielder left, we just took one of our own guys and put him at first base. And then with the outfielder thing, we probably now have one of the strongest 4-man outfields in baseball. And I think that's important, because instead of looking and being like, well, I guess we're depending on Derek Fisher and Tyrone Taylor and whoever else, like those are now part of that 13 guys that we're going to be sitting on the bus from here to Nashville because every once in a while, Christian Yelich has got a foot injury. So now Tyrone Taylor gets to tell UPS he needs 2 weeks off so he can come up and do a road trip for the Brewers. But like, I think that's really like, whether we like it, whether we feel good about it, like you said, I think the way that they're approaching it is smart. Would I love them to just be able to go and back up the money truck to these guys and have that, we've got the best 8 hitters in the game? Yes, I would love it. But at least they're trying stuff. And it took them a while this offseason to get it moving, but I think that's kind of their MO. And I think that
Yeah.
players know it. And I think that the agents know it too. And I think that's one of the things that has changed for the Brewers for the better, because before nobody wanted to come to the Brewers, but now we're looking at these deals in, January and February. And for how many straight years running have the Brewers signed somebody in January or February or March, and we've gone, oh,
Yeah. Yeah. I think what they do really well is they use the leverage of nobody is bidding on this person. And so we can come in and we can throw an offer out there and we can do something, like with Jackie Bradley guy here, right? It's basically a 1 year contract. I don't know who has the option on year two, but it's basically a 1 year contract. Somebody can cancel out of it. Same thing we do with Moose, same thing you do with Grandal. And yeah, you'd like to lock these guys up longer, but they're not going to come to us and get locked up for longer because we're not going to pay them what they want for that long term deal. But if it's it's January, it's February, it's getting close to spring training, and they're still sitting at home and they don't have a team. If you throw something at them and say, look, just come here for a year. We got a great environment. We got a great team. We got great guys. You can come in and show why you're worth all the money that you think you're worth and no one's willing to pay you. And then you can go back out next year. There's no commitment and you can get your money. I mean, that's a hell of an argument to make. So,
well,
yeah,
and
they're smart about it.
yeah, and it's a poster. I mean, they can say, look at Mike Moustakas,
Yeah.
look at Yasmani Grandal, look at, we've got Gio Gonzalez 3 straight like spring training contracts with somebody with people thought that Gio Gonzalez was done,
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff. It's like the Brewers have been able to do some of this. And I think that that's really good. So this is interesting. I mean, it's a exciting kind of little nugget to watch as spring training moves on.
Yeah, for sure. Even though Mike says that Euchre can probably hit better than Jackie Bradley Jr. I mean, I would argue that about most like 90-year-olds, but maybe not Bob Euchre. So what? So how are you feeling about this? I almost said Miller Park, this American Family Field or whatever it is, the stadium, whatever the stadium is the Brewers playing. How are you feeling about opening it up for people to come hang out, catch some balls and catch some COVID and go home and spread it around? What are you feeling about that?
So I guess for me, I have to kind of disassociate myself because I have feelings about how this impacts me personally versus how this impacts people in general. So, number one, looking at their plan, I think their plan is set up in a way that tries to minimize contact between their staff and fans. And I think for a while, they've been trying to get rid of the carry in concessions. And part of that is a financial concern because you're going to lose money when people aren't buying your food and drink. But also, we know very well how much of a challenge their security staff has checking bags and telling people, oh, you can't bring that in, or you got to sit here and you got to chug this, Hefeweizen that you got in your backpack because you can't bring in a bottle of beer.
Mm-hmm.
So by just saying, nope, you can't have any of it, what their hope is to make the security checkpoint a lot smoother, because unless you have a purse, whether you have kind of that little wristlet or you've just got a little purse, like they don't have to check you. And that's something that hopefully will make that process go a lot smoother. I doubt it, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to be positive here, right? So I think that's part of it. And then I also think the way that they have the plan written up, it's one of those things where it's going to be what it is. I feel like because people are stupid, there's a lot of things that are going to happen that are going to be a challenge, right? Because one of the things that it says, you cannot eat any of your food unless you're sitting in your ticketed seat. You can't eat it at the handrail. You can't eat it in the concourse. You can't do anything unless you're at your ticketed seat. Big Bob, who's 4 beers in, is not going to be dissuaded by your, elderly usher that he shouldn't eat his hot dog and drink his 6th beer while standing behind section 232.
Right.
We know that that's something, and and this again is going to kind of go into a different topic, but we random listen to our show, you'll know that this happens. We were looking at a post from one of our friends who is a proprietor of a brew pub, and he was kind of talking about all the COVID restrictions. And he's like, well, it's unfair that we as a business are going to get targeted for when people do stupid stuff. You should target the person. He's like, the only recourse that I have is to kick this person out and piss off a paying customer. And that's kind of where the brewers are going to be. Are they going to kick somebody out and piss off a paying customer? Probably not. So I think there is going to still be some level of risk involved in anything that they do. I do think it's good that they're going to try to get people back into the ballpark, because I think that it's something that is a form of entertainment, and it's something that they could do in theory safely. But I also think that it's going to be upon each individual person to make sure that they are as safe as possible, because I don't think the brewers can assure you of your safety.
Well, I'm going to stay safe by not going to that fucking stadium and hanging around with people. That's what I'm going to do, which kind of sucks because I enjoy going to the games, but fuck all that. So here's the thing. Like, people don't wear their fucking masks when they go to Kmart, for fuck's sake. And now you're expecting 12,000 people are going to wear their mask inside the Brewers Stadium? And you're expecting that when you add alcohol to the mix, you're going to keep 12,000 people with a fucking mask on? Like, it's just, I'm sorry, but it's going to be a disaster. I know they're trying to cut down on that by cutting out tailgating. You can't tailgate at the stadium anymore, which sucks ass. Like, it's half the reason to fucking go. And I'm sure a big part of that is to cut down on alcohol, right? Because anyone that goes to a game, you know that you sit outside for 2 or 3 hours before the game, you get all liquored up, then you go into the game and you drink some more. That's the way it works. So I think that a big part of the reason why they're cutting out on tailgating, yes, there's the optics of it, right? We want to keep people separate. And if you're out there tailgating and they can't keep people separate, I'm sure that's part of it. But I think a big part of it also is to kind of cut down on that alcohol thing. And maybe they're already, maybe they're going to cut down on some of the alcohol inside too. I don't know. I just think it's going to be ugly. I don't think it's going to go well. I'm not going to be there as much as I'd like to be. Yeah, I don't know. I think the carrying thing, I think, you know what? I know that we take advantage of it when we go. And by we, I mean you, because you carry the bag and we have water and stuff. And if we get some stupid handout, you'll carry it for us so we don't have to carry it around. Like, we benefit from that. But I shit you not. We were at a game once, and I don't know if I mentioned it to you. This was before Wiggum was coming with us. There was a family of like 15 people in an entire row sitting right in front of us. And at one point, it was snack time. Mom brings out her bag, big old bag, and she starts handing out little individual things of popcorn to everyone, 15 of these individual bags of popcorn. And then she's got cookies. And then she's got something else. Like, they had a fucking 7-course meal here that she just brought in. Now, I get it, right? If you got 15 people, how are you going to be able to pay $20 per person for concessions? I get that. But on the flip side, they're also running a business here. So I understand it. I don't know that it's the right thing. All I'm saying is I understand where they're coming from with that. And I think that in the end, you know what? Like I said, I'm not going to be there. I understand why they want to do it. They need to make money. I get that. Because they're spending it on all the great fucking players that we're getting, right? Just to go full circle. I don't know, B. I'm concerned to see how ugly it gets, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like, I will have ears to the ground. I don't feel like I will be there either. Like I said, I tried to separate my personal opinions from looking at it from like, why is this good or bad for like general person? Because
Yeah,
like
fuck
I
that.
do have
This
friends.
is our podcast, B. It's all about our opinions.
Well, like I have friends who like they don't care. Like they'll go and buy 6 beers at the stadium and buy their food. Like I don't buy like honestly, as much as I drink beer, as much as you people talk to me about beer, when is the last time honestly that you saw me buy a beer at Miller Park?
I
You
mean,
didn't,
if they sell
I don't.
good beer, then maybe. But
I mean, they do, but it's literally like 14 fucking dollars for a good beer. I could go to Discount Liquor and buy a 4-pack of that beer for the
it's true.
12-ounce pour that you want to give me.
It's true.
That's my problem. And that's why I don't buy alcohol at the stadium. Yes, I'm cheap. It is what it is.
Well, on that note, B, I think it's time.
It's time. Random rankings.
Time for some random rankings. We got to get B to calm down a little bit. He's going to have a heart attack over there or something. His eyeball's going to explode. I don't know, but we got to get him calmed down. So, B, tell us about these random rankings. What are we going to be talking about?
Well, there's a holiday that's coming up soon that is part of your favorite topic.
Wait, my birthday? Is it my birthday? Is it my birthday coming up?
Oh, that is coming up. But I was talking about Jesus.
Wait, I'm not Jesus?
I mean, you got a little bit of salt and pepper in your beard. So.
God damn it.
All right. So this week we are talking about Easter candy that you want in your Easter basket.
Easter candy.
So it's the time of year where heart-shaped everything makes way for all the bunny and egg-shaped goodies you could ever want. Our friends at Delish.com put together a list of returning favorites and brand spanking new items that are going to make you rethink what goes in your Easter basket this year. Now, I did go through this list and it seems like they listed things multiple times, so I don't feel like we need to draft exclusively from this list. Like, if you want to draft something off the list, that's cool, but the list is here kind of as a guide for us. What are your thoughts on that, Christopher?
I'm fine with it. I don't really eat Easter candy much, so I'm just going to go from the list.
All right. Well, we're going to draft some candies and it's going to be delicious. Are you ready to get started?
Yeah, but we should probably randomize who goes first, right?
Sure.
Randomizer. Are we doing a back and forth thing or not a back and forth thing? Probably not a back and forth thing. Or not a snake, right? Just back and forth.
Yeah.
B and a C. Fine. Randomize. Oh, shit. I get to go first, B.
Oh, no.
Which is good because I'm going to take the one that we both want.
You're just going to take the 101 of Easter candy.
It's got to be the Reese's milk chocolate peanut butter egg, right?
Yep.
It's got to be.
They put Reese's milk chocolate peanut butter eggs on here twice. I felt like that's kind of cheating.
I mean,
because then we both could take it.
Where do I want my random rankings? There we go. Wait. Oh, go away. All right. So yeah, and the reason why I'm taking this is because they're amazing, right? Like, I'm not normally a huge peanut butter guy. I do kind of like the Reese's peanut butter cups a little bit, but it's when you can go, like, you get the extra, like, the special Reese's are the best ones because they got like the extra little peanut butter, which is odd because I'm not a huge peanut butter guy, but it does it, man. It does it for me. The Reese's eggs, that's where it's at, yo.
Yeah, the Reese's eggs are easily the 101 of Reese's, of kind of of any Easter candy. Now, even though they put the Reese's peanut butter eggs on here twice, I'm not going to draft the other instance of Reese's peanut butter eggs. But honestly, like, the Reese's peanut butter eggs are on this thing like 6 times because there's a Hershey's Easter wait, no, where is it? I have to find it again. There was one it's like a combo pack that has the Reese's eggs, but it also has the Cadbury eggs.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. Yeah. And there's a Reese's Pieces egg.
So it's like, can I draft the Hershey's Easter egg variety pack, or is that cheating because you've already drafted the Reese's?
I mean, I would say if you want to. What the hell? I don't care.
All right. Well, I'm drafting the Hershey's Easter egg variety pack.
God,
which
what
is
a
two
cheater.
of the best Easter candies. You can't go wrong with the Reese's eggs and the Cadbury cream mix, or I can just draft the Cadbury cream mix. How about that?
No, you got.
We're taking the Cadbury cream egg.
Oh, that you're switching it up now?
Yeah, we're taking the Cadbury egg.
I don't know how to spell Cadbury cream. All right. I don't know if I've ever had a Cadbury cream egg. Maybe I have. I don't know. Okay. So I'm glad I got the egg because the other one is a no-brainer for me. Like I said, I rarely eat Easter candy, but if there's one thing that I'm always going to eat, it's the Whoppers Robin eggs. Those are legit. Those are super legit. That's very close to being my 101, I'll be honest.
Okay.
Yeah. That's legit.
Interesting.
That throw you off?
No,
Wiggum gave us a yuck. Get out of here, Wiggum.
I
I
just
want to
didn't
ask you.
see that one on this list. That's why I was like, oh, I didn't even think of that.
Number 3, right up near the top, man.
Oh, yeah, because this list is because number 3 on my list is the Cheetos Sweetos, the
Oh,
cinnamon sugar puffs.
really?
Yeah.
Huh. I guess we have a different list. I don't know.
Oh, I want to see your list because it sounds like your list has good stuff on it. My list has weird stuff on it. All right. So when I'm thinking of Easter stuff, I'm just going to go off of this list because this list is kind of trash and it has like 17 iterations of Peeps on it. Although I feel like for our 5th pick, we should be required to draft one of the Peeps variations.
No.
But that would be the fun part. But what we're gonna do is I am going to draft the Brock's speckled eggs, the jelly beans.
Ah, okay. Interesting. You're a jelly bean guy, huh? I didn't know that.
I used to love jelly beans when I was like real big. Now I try not to eat jelly beans because there's no nutritional value in them.
Well, I don't know if there's much nutritional value in any of this stuff here.
I mean, chocolate has value. Come on now. Peanut butter has protein.
Okay, sure. You say so. All right, I'm gonna go with the first one on my list because it just looks really interesting. So first of all, it's a giant chocolate bunny. Chocolate's fucking amazing, right? But it comes with a container of peanut butter to dip your chocolate in. That just seems so fucking cool. So I'm going the chocolate rabbit with peanut butter. I don't know how I'm going to put that on this list. It's going to be huge. Choco Rab with PB. There we go. Chocolate rabbit with peanut butter. It looks pretty legit, I'm telling you. It even has a slogan. It says, break it, dip it, enjoy it.
I mean, are we looking at different lists?
I don't know. It's number 1 on the list.
Oh, 41. Oh, what? They changed the list since they really did change this list since I looked at this last night.
You got to refresh that shit, B.
What? Come on, man. Killing me. Oh, okay. So that has thrown a wrench into my entire draft strategy because I literally pulled the text of this and now they've changed it all. But looking at some of these options, right? So now we're really just getting into all of this weird like stuff, but I see something that looks kind of interesting to me. There is a Hershey's Easter Best basket where you get full-size bars of Reese's Mallow Top, which is a Reese's peanut butter cup with marshmallow. There are Kit Kats, and then there are Hershey's marshmallow eggs. That sounds kind of delicious.
Yeah, it does sound good. So it looks like the regular Kit Kats from what I can tell. Then it's
Yep.
a Reese's peanut butter cup with marshmallow on top. Then it's a Hershey's marshmallow egg. I mean, that's a lot of marshmallow, but that seems pretty legit.
Yeah.
So are we doing Peeps? Are we forcing Peeps with pick number 5? Because that's going to dictate what I choose next.
Yes.
All right, so number 5, I have never heard of this before. I need to order groceries this weekend, and I shouldn't be eating this stuff, but I'm still going to try to see if they have it. It is the Oreo chocolate egg with cookie pieces. It looks like it's a chocolate
you took
egg
what I was going to take.
with like cream stuff inside. With I don't know what it is, but it looks fucking good as hell. So it's going on my list.
It does look so good.
Doesn't it?
Does.
I don't know what that white stuff is inside of it, but it still looks good.
It's just basically like cookies and cream.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figure. Oreo, what does it say? Stuff with Oreo cream. Holy shit, it's the cream from the Oreo.
Yep.
Oh, fucking A, chat. I got to get this shit.
You just won the draft for yourself. Go shop or go, as you would say.
All right. This is, oh shit, I forgot about this one. God damn it. All right, go B.
Now you have regrets. So I am looking through this list again, right? Like there's a lot of jelly beans on here. Like I'm tempted in some ways by the Sour Patch jelly beans, but
Yes.
I don't know. I'm
Yes.
tempted by the Swedish fish jelly beans, but I don't know. So I think instead of going with a jelly bean that I feel a little bit suspect about, I'm going to go with something that I think will be just a little bit of a higher grade of quality. And that is the Lindt Lindor
Ah, yes.
Neapolitan white chocolate truffle.
Dude, I'm all about the Lindt truffles, man.
Is that the one that you forgot?
No, it is not.
Okay. So now you get to draft your peep.
So I'm gonna throw an honorable mention out here just because this is the dumbest looking thing ever, but I kind of want it because it's the dumbest thing ever. It's the one right above your Lindor truffles. This is a white chocolate rabbit. That sounds pretty okay in my book to begin with, but what is it filled with, chat? What is it, chat? Chat, look, listen. It's a white chocolate rabbit. What do you think it's filled with? Fruity Pebbles, of course. Why wouldn't you fill a white chocolate rabbit with Fruity Pebbles? I don't know. It makes perfect sense to me. It sounds fucking ridiculous, so I kind of want to try it a little bit. I'm being honest. I don't even like Fruity Pebbles, but I feel like I want to try this. Anyway,
That's amazing.
so there's a bunch of peeps. Let me run down the peeps real quick, so our peeps that are listening can see what we got. So I'm scrolling through the list here. There are like 4 different peep things in here, I think. I should just control F. All right, so we've got sour watermelon peeps. All right. Sour watermelon peeps. And then this is a Peeps Easter pancake mix and skillet set. I don't know if that counts because it's really just a pancake can. So that kind of seems dumb. We've got Peeps hot tamale fierce cinnamon marshmallow. Okay.
Okay.
And then what else? What else do we got for peeps? Is there are only 3? And then there's the root beer float flavored peeps. Oh, and then there's the peeps frosted sugar cookies. I think that's kind of one of them. Oh, Oh, I haven't even gone all the way down this list, man. There's the peeps cotton Easter candy. Okay. And then there's the yellow peeps. And then that's it. So here's let me chat. Let's just chat. Look at me for a second. I don't know if you're aware of this, and it's my goal with the podcast and with the streaming with everything. I just want to be open and honest with you at all times. So chat. I know this may hurt, but peeps are fucking disgusting. And I know that sounds harsh. I don't take this lightly. This responsibility I have of being open and honest with you, chat. They're fucking disgusting. So with that laid out there, the only one that I could even imagine trying to taste is, of course, the hot tamale fierce cinnamon fucking peep. That's gonna be ass. But that's the one I'm going with.
I knew that was the one you were going to go with, and that's half the reason that I wanted to make us draft peeps, because I've always said, and I think I've actually said it on this podcast before, there's one place in life for peeps, and it's directly in the garbage.
Yeah,
So
I agree. I agree.
so that's why I feel like I was going to make us draft peeps.
I like it.
But if you
like it.
if you were going to make me eat a peep, I think I would pick the cotton candy one, because that's the most sickeningly sweet flavor of all of these flavors. And if I'm going to eat something that's sickeningly sweet, I may as well go all the way.
That is
Take it
fair.
up to 100.
That's
go all
fair.
the way up.
Oh my goodness, freaking peeps. All right. So chat, as always, let us know who wins. I know that Wiggum's got a prejudice against malt, but take a look. We got Brian's. Brian's got a couple different eggs here. The Cadbury cream eggs. He got the speckled eggs. Got the Easter basket that's got some Reese's cups with marshmallow, some Kit Kats, and a marshmallow egg. He's got the Lindt Neapolitan, and then he's got the cotton candy peep. I've got the Reese's egg, which is clearly the number 1. The Whoppers Robin eggs, which is clearly number 2. The chocolate rabbit with peanut butter. I should have went with the Fruity Pebbles. the Oreo egg, which looks freaking amazing, and then the hot tamale peep, because if you're going to eat peeps, you might as well pay for it. So that's what we got. Those are our lists. Let us know who you think wins. C wins due to other choices. Thank you, Wiggum. I knew I liked you for a reason. Emily's working on who she thinks wins, but while you guys think on it, we're going to let B take us through his extra point.
Well, and what I'm going to tell you is my favorite Easter candy is actually the sweet tart jelly beans. So that was not on the list, so I did not draft them. But extra point this week. Just thinking about lots of things that are going on in the world and thinking about what we as people can do to be good people to each other. There was something that I saw that was interesting. There was recently a day of empathy where individuals who are currently incarcerated or have experience with incarceration were meeting with other advocates and people who want to help the community of people who have been incarcerated and kind of try to stop that cycle. And I think that that's very interesting because we've seen a lot where people are having certain feelings about people who get incarcerated and why they're incarcerated and what that means. But at the end of the day, they're still people. There was an article that was put out by a football player who was talking about how his brother is actually incarcerated. And he's like, this is my older brother. And if our roles were reversed, I might actually be the one who's incarcerated because our systems are flawed in ways that, put us all at disadvantages and things like that. So I think it's always important to try to look at some of these situations with an eye for empathy and an eye for compassion and to try to sometimes remove your own thoughts and biases from the situation because sometimes somebody is the wee random dick of the week. But then there's other times where maybe we just need to step back and look at things from a more empathetic and positive perspective and try to see how we can move forward. So that's what I got for you this week, Christopher.
I like it, B. Thanks for sharing. It's been an interesting week in the online streaming world. It's been longer than just this week. Things kind of came to a head this week. So there's a woman that I follow. Follow on Twitch, on Twitter. She's a black woman and she's very, very vocal. She really speaks out about things that she cares about. A lot of issues that deal with gender and with race. She's very, very vocal, and it's part of what she's gone through. Part of that being vocal has caught the eye of people who might not be very nice people. One of these individuals happens to hail apparently from Milwaukee, which I found very interesting and not surprising. And basically this person, which has a much bigger audience than what she has, decided to send his legion of fucking trolls after this woman. So she's had to deal with people coming into her stream chat and saying some of the most horrific things you can imagine to her, flooding her Twitter with stuff. Somebody, now whether it was her, I don't know exactly what happened, but the police ended up at her actual home at one point. And as we all have seen, anytime police interact with black people, it's a scary situation. So the fact that it got to that point is terrifying. There's so many ways that these individuals have just, and I didn't change my thing to my extra point, but there's so many ways that this has manifested itself, and so many different ways these people have just pushed their agenda and their hatred and their toxicity on this woman, and it makes me sick to my stomach. I sat in streams with her this week when she was in tears, trying to fight off what these people are saying to her and about her. It's just been ugly all around, right? And this is a person who has been incredibly vocal, and she's really spoken her truth. And I can understand how some of the things that have come about can be looked at from a way where people have a bit of a wry eye. At one point, she made a pitch, and I don't know what all went into it, but she made a pitch to a hardware company and said, hey, why don't you send me a console if you're giving them out to all these other people, and I will offer a different point of view on the reviews, right? So give me a review copy. And a lot of people looked at it and said, oh, so you're a black person, so you should get a free Xbox or PS5 or whatever it was, right? And I don't think at all that's where this was coming from. I think it was we talked earlier about representation, right? if all the reviews that people are seeing on these gaming consoles and these hardware things are all coming from the same group of people, which is generally white guys, don't you think it makes sense that there's representation beyond that? That you should have people who represent a much vast audience, much more vast audience than that. So I looked at this situation, and yeah, part of me is like, well, shit, send me a free fucking Xbox. But the the better brain of me says, well, it makes sense. We need more representation. But as you can imagine, these individuals who very largely are a bunch of white guys looked at that and said, well, fuck you. You shouldn't get free shit just because you're black and just because you're a woman. I want free shit. And they've gone fucking ape shit on this woman. And it breaks my heart because she's done so much that I've seen. She lifts so many people up. She focuses on kindness everywhere. Is she perfect? Hell no. But none of us are. But I'm watching, and I'm trying to do what little bit I can to help raise her up, to help, fight some of the people that are coming at her. And I don't do a ton. I don't have a huge reach, but I do what I can. And I guess the takeaway from this isn't just to share part of her story, and I don't think I've shared anything that isn't out there in some way, shape, or form, but it's just to remind people that there's a shit ton of ugly out there. And Brian and I use this forum a little bit to speak on some of that, to try to combat some of that, to try to raise awareness, to try to remind people to stand up for what's important, stand up for what's good, stand up for what's right, stand up for people who need standing up for, stand shoulder to shoulder with people, be an ally. Don't just say hashtag BLM in your fucking Twitter profile, but actually stand up when needed, shoulder to shoulder with people and say, I'm going to fight this horrible shit with you. I'm going to support you. I'm going to lift you up. I'm going to do whatever I can do to help support people that are doing what's right and fight against people who are being assholes, because that's what's happening here. And now this woman's on a break. She's, who knows when she's going to come back to this stuff. Her life is being uprooted because she's trying to fight for people who need to be fought for. And I just think that all of us could do a little bit more in trying to help out in situations like that. So I guess my call to action is, if you see injustice, if you see wrong, speak up, make your voice heard. If you see somebody else doing that and they're getting cut down, they're getting their legs cut out from underneath them, they're getting attacked, stand up for them, support them, help lift them up, give them a kind word, whatever it can be. We all can live with more kindness. We all can exude more kindness. And what's the Martin Luther King quote, right? Hate can't push out hate, only love can do that, right? It's hard. It's really hard. I struggle with it every day. I struggle with it every week when we're on here and we're talking about these assholes like Soccer Dude, fucking goddamn Fortnite kid, I think about it every week, and I struggle with it. But in the end, love is what it is, and love is what we have. Love is what we have to use. So I'm sending all my love out to all of y'all, people that are here in the chat, people who are watching or listening later. I love all of you. Thank you for being here. And I just hope that all of us can love a little bit more and help this world just be a nicer goddamn place. And that's what I got, B.
Number one, we failed again at getting you out of here on time.
I know.
Number two, I agree with everything that you said, and I just want to add 2 quick points to that. One being that when you're online, remember that there's an actual human being on the other side of that computer. So whatever you're doing to that person, remember that that's a person there. You're a person, they're a person. We're all very much more interconnected than we all may think. So really think about whatever you're putting out there before you put that out there. And then the second thing I think I wanted to say was just, let's think about where we are today. I know it's very hard for people. We brought this up earlier in the podcast. There are a lot of people that say, well, in the good old days, but today is not the good old days. Today is whatever day that we make it. We can make this a great day if we all work together to better everyone else's lives. Because if you get $1, that doesn't mean I don't get $1. That means we both get $1. And that's what's important. We need to lift each other up instead of cutting each other out at the knees.
I agree. I think that's all we got,
y'all.
B. You want to wrap us up?
That's all we got. We're going to plug these socials real quick. You can find me at Landmark MKE on Twitter. You can find Sconzi at Sconzi. We would be pleased if you would find Sconzi on YouTube. He's trying to get to 100 subscribers. Make sure you look for the purple man with the cigar in his mouth.
That's right.
Don't look for that other guy. That other guy is doing some stuff on the internet that we don't know what he's doing, but he's not part of our people. You also can find us on Facebook. You can find this podcast in any of your streaming services, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you want to find me, you can find me. So until next time, you got anything else for the people, Christopher?
That's it. Have a good one, guys.
All right, we'll see you guys later.
Bye-bye. We out. My end music, I started it earlier. We almost ran out of music. Good podcast. Good job, B.
I was gonna say I felt like you were playing me off like I was on the freaking like Emmys or something.
I looked down and I'm like 20 seconds left. Shit, I didn't read a shut up.
Yeah, I was
Also,
like, I'm getting played off.
also because we ran so long, I didn't get in on the fucking thing.
Told you gotta do it on the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks, old man Wiggum. Appreciate that. Thanks, Z-Dubs.
Yeah.
Stop the caster here.
Yeah, thanks guys for being here. Appreciate you, Wiggum, Z-Dubs, Emily, everybody else who's out there.
Yeah, I always
Appreciate
appreciate
all of
you
you.
guys being here. It definitely hits different having people here live. I enjoy that. It's much, much better.
Just wait until we can actually like do this podcast in front of real people at some point.
That'd be kind of cool. All right, I have the audio clips, so we're good there. Yeah, thanks, Emily. Appreciate that. Glad you guys enjoyed it. All right, I think we're good, and I'm going to have to run off because I'm already a couple minutes late for D&D. But thank you all for being here. B, thank you, of course. We got a lot of topics to choose from if we decide to do our extra time episode on the stuff that we've missed. Felt you all stay more positive tonight, even on tough topics. Well, that's the goal, man. You know, I think getting passion, I believe that passion is missing in so much of our lives. And so I resolve to always be passionate and always live my passion. But I think at times we can be too much on the negative passion side. So I think it's important that we specifically look for the good. And that's one thing I've mentioned this to B too, is I really want to focus more on finding the good and finding the good in the stories that we look for, right? Because a lot of the times we're loading stories up that we want to talk about that are negative stories. Well, how do we find those positives? How do we focus on those? And I think that's an important thing that we want to push for going forward, because I know that we're both very strongly rooted in, positive mental health and making sure that the world is a better spot. So thanks for that. I appreciate that feedback.
Yeah. And there were a couple out there that kind of hit the floor this week that might have been a little bit more positive, but I feel like you said, Wiggum, we did a good job of pulling info out of these stories so we could look at both the positive and the negative and then bring it back to our fears and concerns, because that's also important.
Cool. All right, I'm giving an update to my guys, let them know I'm on my way. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. I don't think there's going to be a secret stream this weekend, but you never know. That could happen at any point. But I do stream here on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook temporarily, because I think that shit's going to go away sooner rather than later. But that's where we're at Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. Central. On Wednesdays, we do Watch Party Wednesday, so we watch a show together on Twitch. On Fridays, we're here at 5:30 p.m. and we do the podcast. Sometimes every other week I do D&D, but then the opposite week, which would be next week, sometimes I stick around and we stream some more. So make sure you stop by. I appreciate you for being here. Everybody that was here live for the podcast, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I can't even say how much I appreciate you. But thank you so much. And obviously, Brian, thank you for being a part of this. I love the fact that we get together every week and get to talk about stuff. So thanks, everybody.
Agreed.
I appreciate it. And I'm going to say good night. Good night, everybody. B, say good night to everybody. Or don't.
Good night, everyone. I muted myself. I try to be a good co-host.
I
And
appreciate
when I
that.
think you're trying to go, I mute. So good night, everybody. I'm muting myself again.
Good
We'll
night,
see you
Joe.
next Friday.
Have
Or
a
for
good night.
Thursday night Thunder Throwdown.
Well, I'm going to see you on Monday. See you, everyone.